So we will be able to have a short vlog regarding NFPA 704. Okay. So this is National Fire Protection Association. Okay, NFPA. Now we'll go directly to the diamond system. By the way, this NFPA 704 is the standard system for the identification of the hazards of the materials for emergency response. Or shall we say, a standard system for the identification of the hazards of chemical substances for emergency response. Meaning, if we speak about materials, automatically mean chemical substances. That's what mean here, okay? Like that. So, okay, so what ang English ito? Standard. Makita ninyo ang word. Board. Ganon. So, standard system for the identification, okay, identification of the hazards of materials, okay, materials for emergency response. So why do we put emergency response? Because to serve the purpose of the act or number for the NFA 704. Okay, so this is about fire protection. Okay, so that's why they put emergency response, or else they will never have this act if they don't put this emergency response thing because of fire protection. Okay, like that. So maybe the hazards they're referring to are the four hazards in a diamond. So itong diamond, so let's talk about the diamond, guys, ha? Okay, una siya, diamond. Ah, okay, like that. Okay, so this is very basic for the, for the hazards of the chemical substances. So you will check this out when you read the level of the chemicals. You try to look for the pictogram, meaning to say hazard statements that show the drawing, the symbol, something like that. Okay, so it's gonna be the hazard signs, the warning signs, and the hazard statements. Of course, obviously, hazard statements does not have drawing, only statements like that. But for the hazard signs and warning signs, there are drawings for that, and with corresponding color, something like that. Okay, color. The point specifically, for example, red for fire, hazard, something like that. So that's only an example. Okay, guys? Okay, ganun. Okay. So actually, when you read the chemical label, it's being posted there also the, a very brief first aid measures. Okay, first aid measures and what to do in case of fire and explosion. Normally, but then it depends on the manufacturers of the chemicals. Some also don't have like that. Okay? The basic really is the hazards, statements, hazards and warning signs reflected on the chemical substances in the container, in the can, or whatever containers are that, right? And after you read the, the chemical name, okay? There's a chemical name in words, and then there's an equivalent chemical formula also stated in there. But again, it depends on the manufacturers because other chemical manufacturers are very, very also lazy to put the chemical formula, okay, in that particular chemical substance. But others, really, majority, put chemical formula after naming it. Okay, for example, benzene, close and open parenthesis, 6 atoms of carbon and 6 atoms of hydrogen, something like that. But others don't have like that also, okay? Get the point. Okay, we could not expect that, but sure, there are hazards statements, hazards and warning signs, briefly declared on the battle and in the container. Okay, like that. Okay, now for this, guys, we have one, two, three, four, diba? So, there's a color for this. For example, we have the specific. No, this is not specific because these are four. Okay, so the specific colors is another thing also. Okay, wait. First, the blue. Okay. Second, the red. Okay. Third, the yellow. And the fourth is white. Okay. You get the point? Now, if you're working in a very standard chemical manufacturing company that is regulated by ISO 14001, okay, for example, quality ISO 9001, quality management system, and then for safety ISO 45001, or it could be OSHA's 18001 or 2007. It's also okay, but most of the companies now having the ISO 45001, they're really following this standard system. But if your company is not applying for the certification for this will not be found in your plant and factories. The identification for that is in the, for example, in the power plant, crude oil area, or any large tanks, chemical storage areas, right? There's a large dimension, let's see, tanks. If there's no diamond like this, meaning the company is not OSHA certified. It's not certified internationally in safety. Okay? So we cannot force to pay this because in the first place, these companies and factories are not standard and not following the requirement of ISO 20001 and OSHA's 18001 to 2007. Okay? Because ISO 18001 is not really, this is for safety. Okay? This is not really the requirement of, in fact, this is not also the requirement of SASO. Okay? It's really specifically for the ISO 45001 Safety Management System Standard, or it could be OSHA's 18000 2007, specifically OSH. Okay? So kung wala ginamangyarin yung mga tangke, so that means they are not certified in OSH internationally. That's clear. Okay. So this is only a guidance that we should, take into consideration because even though those industries and plants are not certified, but we can also save ourselves from the damages or for the effect of any incidents and accidents caused by fires and explosion due to the misuse and mishandling and poor storage of these hazardous chemical substances. Okay, so this is the main importance. Okay, like that. Because it doesn't mean also that we should be standard first in order we can follow also the safety requirements. Okay, so the essential and significance for this really is to save, okay, the properties, the people, okay, for any fire and explosions, big damages or any catastrophe events that will cause total destruction of your organization or your plant, something like that. Okay? Get the point. So di lang yun siya compulsory because it's not certified. Okay? Get the point. It's very clear, right? It doesn't have also to be certified to follow. Okay? The great safety impact on that particular guidance, safety guidance. Okay, this will become a safety guidance naman ng give siya because the plants and factories are not certified in safety. So guidance, meaning not obligation, not compulsory, but we can still follow by our own discretion. Get the point? Okay. Go back. Blue, red, yellow, and white. So it's gonna, for example, lang siya. Okay. Muna siya blue, okay, color ng blue. Muna siya blue. Okay. This is red. So now, speaking makin. Monitor sa ako rin paano si. Friends. Okay. Sige. Red. Ano ka? And then, this is yellow. Okay, yellow. And the white. Okay. So we should distinguish what is the blue. Okay. The blue this is really specifically toxicity. Okay, or generally health hazards, but I would rather say this is toxicity. Because if we talk about health hazards, there are a lot of health hazards involved in dealing and using with chemicals. For example, carcinogen, pathogen, those are also health hazards. And for example, also we have sensitizer, irritant, harmful, poisonous, something like that, okay? Flammable, combustible, explosive. It's gonna be on the sometimes health hazards and also for the hazards of the damaging of the property. But other reference materials, they just put health hazard. For me, it's not really that technical because it's not specific. It should be toxicity, the blue. Okay? Kaya di naman pasok sa banga ang mga ubang health hazards here. So why putting the general term on the blue? Okay, it should be toxicity specifically. Ako rin hindi correct by my own knowledge. Okay, blue is toxicity not health hazards. But other, other sources, if you Google that in the World Wide Web or other materials or other CP trainings, they would rather put health hazards. But that's too general. Health hazards, so many things about health hazards, guys. Not only limiting to toxicity. Okay? So that's why I put really toxicity. Because the numbering of Nfpa 704 is referring to toxicity specifically. Not how carcinogenic it is, not how pathogenic it is. Okay? Pathogen meaning chemical substance that could cause infection to human being when it is intake in our system, or any substances causing diseases, food substances causing diseases, those are pathogens. Okay? Ganon. So, what man mo tackle sa toxicity ang sigutan, guys. Okay. Siya. Okay? So, ang blue, muna siya toxicity, at ang T. Ganon. So, red, muna na siya ang fire hazard. Okay. So, insert flammability, right? If you talk about fire hazards, flammability specifically. Okay? Like this F. And the yellow is talking about reactivity. Okay, how fast or how slow the chemical substance will react to another substance, or how stable or unstable the chemical will have to react with other substances. Okay, so these are the definitions of reactivity. Okay, so that's why some also references materials or in the World Wide Web. If you Google it, search this, sometimes they will put instability. Okay, instead of putting reactivity in the yellow part, capital R, they will put instability. Okay? Meaning to say, they regard the hazardous chemical substances are all unstable, that it will react and will explode to a certain value of explosive rating as per their flashpoints values, something like that. But for me, I will never put instability, because if you put instability, the hazards numbering of Nfpa 704 started with 0. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 4 is extreme, 0 is minimal, okay, or none. N-O-N, none. Okay, depende sa blue toxic, so non-toxic. Oh, ganon. So if it is non-toxic, that is normal substance because it's not toxic. Okay? So that's why I put none. It depends on the hazard I am referring to. Okay. Now if you put zero, guys, if you talk about reactivity, so zero is stable. Okay? Zero is stable, right? And then if you put instability in the yellow part, how about the zero? It's stable there. So in labeling grammatically will be wrong. It should be still reactivity. Okay? Though the 1, 2, 3 sa yellow part is already instability. You get the point? Again. From 0 to 4 numbering on Nfpa 704, it will start to 0. So if we talk about reactivity, it starts with 0. The 0 definition is stable. Meaning to say, this type of chemicals will never react to other chemicals. Now, if I label instability in the yellow, it will never qualify to the numbering. Because the 0 there, I said stable. Okay, to state it technically correct, I will use reactivity para pasok sa banga ang stability sa zero na numbering. Right? So, we can say putting instability in the yellow here in the memory is wrong. Get the point? It's always reactivity ang yellow. Okay? You get the point? Because reactivity shows will it react or not. It falls both ng good siya. If we speak about instability, it will never react. So what's the purpose of the numbering 0 here in the yellow? So it will never qualify technically. So use reactivity in the yellow, not instability. But other references materials, we still put instability in the yellow. I'm just implying that it is technically wrong, supposedly, if you try to be strict. But you know, it's really understood, that's why it's okay. But for me, it's not. Okay? Like that. Okay? You get the point now? Okay, I will put R, not I, for reactivity. Okay, guys? And it's a white, guys. Yellow is reactivity, ha? Okay? Reactivity. Okay? Reactivity. Sometimes also others putting reactivity slash stability. Okay? It depends na talaga siya. Pero for here, you should not put instability here, ha? Because some chemicals are already stable under normal circumstance. Okay? Stable, dili na good siya mo explode to sa contact, whatever. Okay? Stable, dili siya mo react. Okay? And then Y is specific hazards, so I said S. Okay, specific hazards are hazards that are not mentioned in the T, toxicity, F, reliability, and R reactivity. Okay, mag-atol ka sa mga numbering. So this is specific hazards. Okay. Muna niya ang diamond, ha? Okay. So muna siya ang color relief, white, red, blue. Okay, and we have the white, and we have the yellow, R. Ako papasok. Okay. Let's put hazards rating, hazards classification rating. Okay, para sure. Okay? So, like this. Okay? Ganon. So, we will start with fire hazards. It depends on you what to start, but I'm just loving to start with fire hazards. Okay? So, fire hazards or flammability. Okay, ganon. So before doing this, we need to define first what is flammability all about. Okay? It is the ability of the substance, okay, to be ignited and to catch fire. Something like that. That's flammability. So the basis will be the flash point. So if we base that on a flash point, then we need to know also the definition of the flash point. Okay, so you should memorize this, guys, ha? Okay, yun yung mga flash point, mga masalabiha. Okay, so flash point mo siya. Okay, what is a flash point? Okay, like that. For example, if temperature is already 40, but this chemical will not still be burned to different combustible materials or whatever. So meaning to say, this is less flammable. Okay? Now, if the temperature is very low and if it will already be burned or ignite, that means that is more flammable. Imagine at a very low temperature, it will create a fire. So, it has a higher rating of the flammability. So, ano lang ito pagsabot ha? Sa ito pa, flash point ang atong identification. Get the point? So, what is a flash point? Okay, the flash point is, the lowest and the minimum temperature at which a combustible vapor or a gas will ignite or creating a flash of fire, okay, in the presence of an ignition source. Okay, get the point? In the presence of it. If there's an ignition source, we cannot identify the real value of the flash point. But it's already tested through experimental analysis that these are really the flash points. What I mean, if you try to prove that in an experiment, you need an ignition source, that kind of temperature will be true. Okay? But no, nobody dares to do that because it's already proven and tested. Okay, you will just believe automatically. Okay, by experimental, basis or whatever. Okay? Ganun na siya, guys. So, atong ipasok sa itong brain cells, lowest and minimum temperature. Yan, yung temperature dito, combustible gas or vapor. Okay, so meaning to say, it is not the liquid that will be ignited and will be burned. It is the vapor that will be emitted. Okay? So for example, if I have benzene liquid, so the ability that to catch a fire is the vapor when the vapor will be released, not the liquid itself. Okay? So that is the flash point. So if there's no vapor emitted, it will not create a fire. Because the definition states it is the lowest and minimum temperature at which the combustible vapor, okay, and a gas, okay, will ignite or creating a flash of fire in the presence of an ignition source. Klaro ka siyang vapor give siya, guys, or a gas. Okay, normally vapor is already a gas technically. Okay, something like that. It's not the liquid that create fire. Always that bear that in your mind, ha? Okay, now, vapor gives shock. So, ang flammability, when the vapor is emitted and it will ignite and create a fire. Shock. That's too much for that. Okay, we go to the numbering from 0 to 4. Okay, flash point itong gisgutan, mag-start na sa 0. Okay? So, ang sama niya ang 0, di ba niya yung kanina non? So, this is non-flammable. Okay? So, when we say non-flammable, meaning it will not burn. Right? Slash, it will not burn. Okay? Get the point. If you see 0 in the diamond, so that means that is non-flammable or it will not be burned. Okay? Okay, 1. Sabi ang 1. Flammable. Right? Flammable na siya. Okay, since we cannot categorically distinguish how flammable it is, this is the time that the flash point will arrive. You get the point? So above 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? So, if the chemical substances are expressed in degrees Celsius, convert that to degrees Fahrenheit. I told you before in my vlogging on stream what is the formula of degrees Celsius, right? Degrees Celsius is equal to 5/9, close and open parenthesis, degrees Fahrenheit minus 32, something like that. Right? Okay? Then, ang Fahrenheit, ang sa siya, 9/5 degrees Celsius plus 32. Okay? So, imulin ko ng ante. Basta nang i-express dito sa chemical substances degrees Celsius, then di ka kabaw mo identify kung flammable ba siya. Get the point? Though generally we know that almost all organic liquids that undergo the process of combustion are already flammable in nature. But aside from that, we need to be specific. then we must know the flash point of a certain substance. Now we go to 2. Ganon. So, klaro ka siya. Flammable. So, high flammable. Okay? So, saan naman ang iyang flash point? Okay, flash point will be, okay, below 200. Ganon. Okay? Below 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So, number 3. Saan siya? Number 3. So, very high flammable. Okay, very high. Okay. Like that. Very high flammable. So, it is below, okay, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Now, number 4, extremely flammable. The last. Okay. Extremely flammable. So this is below 73 degrees Celsius. Ano, sorry, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Puros Fahrenheit atong gisgitan, ha? Ano na siyang flammability. Okay. Pasok sa banga ba? Okay. Tanawan na niyo guys ko. Okay, isuwat naman yung pasok sa yung brain cells. Okay. Mana siya. Okay guys. Okay, matulog na ta. Char! Mugaw na ta sa kuan. Chara. Sa kuan, Jud. Tapos guys ha. Okay. Mugaw na ta sa toxicity. Sa blue. Okay. Or under the health hazard. Okay. Toxicity na. Toxicity number 2. Toxicity. Toxicity, guys, is really the ability of the substance to cause poison to the human being if it is being ingested through eating and through drinking, particularly if you forget to wash your hands during handling and using of chemicals. Something like that. Through ingestion process. Something like that. Ha? Usually. Okay? So, poison. P-O-I-S-O-N. Okay? Like that. Okay, so toxicity, magsala 0. Ganon. So, none, diba? So, non-toxic. Okay? So, 1. Oh, ganon. So, non-toxic also mean to say normal substances. If it is a normal substances, that is not toxic already by nature. Okay? So, normal. But it doesn't mean na abnormal if there's a toxicity. What it means lang, normal siya, there's no toxicity level. Ganon. Normal substance. Okay? So, ang one niya guys is already slightly toxic. Okay? Ganun. Okay? Slightly toxic. Not really that toxic, but only slight. Okay, slightly toxic. There's a tendency to be toxic, something like that. Okay, possibility. So, slightly toxic. Ganon. Number 2, toxic na siya. Okay? Toxic. Number 3, saman siya. Slightly toxic and toxic. Number 3 is, okay. So you will say high toxic. Okay. But you should say hazardous. Okay. Like this. Hazardous. More hazardous. Okay. More hazardous. Or shall we say highly toxic. Okay? Okay, basically, more hazardous or highly toxic. Number 4, wala na siya ang let's say, deadly. Okay, deadly. So, meaning anong deadly is extremely toxic. Once it is already extremely toxic, If you absorb that or if you ingest that inside your system, people normally die. Okay? Extremely toxic. For example, you will inhale, for example, mm, uh, 25% of hydrogen sulfide or H2S. So it's beyond the, the TLV of the H2S, right? Which is only 0 to, let's say, 10. And it's more than, right? Though 10 is already a little bit of dangerous now. But what I mean, the leveling, it's more than 10, it's 25% of H2S in your system, automatically you will die if you absorb that. No need of doctor, whatever. Okay? O, di ba? Yung ganun, yun ang extremely toxic or deadly. You will die on the spot, on the ground. No need to go to the hospital. So if this H2S will be released, problem. Okay? Because it is heavier than, heavier than air. Yes, it will go to the ground level. Okay, so it will be inhaled directly with the people. And at the same time also, at a higher concentration, this H2S has no smell and odor at all. You get the point? But at a low concentration, there's a smell like a rotten egg. Imagine, reverse. Okay? So, wala lang. Colorless, ganun, odorless, ganun, but really very, very toxic and also very, very flammable. This H2S, ha? Okay. So, makamatay siya. So, deadly or extremely toxic. Okay, ganun. Okay, ganun. Extremely toxic. So, 0, non-toxic or normal substance. 1, slightly toxic. 2, toxic. Or we'll see also hazardous. It depends, ha? Once it is toxic, it's hazardous, right? 3, highly toxic or more hazardous. 4, deadly or extremely toxic. Okay? Ganon. And now we go to the reactivity. Okay? Reactivity. The ability of a chemical substance to react to another chemical substance. Something like that. Okay? Ganon. Ipasa guys, uy, napita kong human ha. Charot! Sa reactivity na punta, mag-start na punta sa 0. Okay. 0. O, klaro kayo, stable. Okay? Stable meaning it will never react because it's already stable. Okay, number 1. Ang 1 niya guys, unstable when heated. Okay? So it will react a little bit when temperature is applied. Whether it is very hot or not, as long as it is heated. Okay? So unstable when heated. Okay? Number 2, violent chemical reaction. Violent chemical reaction, or shall we say, violent chemical change. Okay? So violent meaning rapid, very strong, like that, like that. Okay, so there are, how very, very strong the reaction really is, vigorous. Okay, like that, violent chemical reaction change. Okay, number 3. Okay, ganun siya, ha? Okay. Number 3 kay shock. Shock and heat may detonate. Okay? Meaning kasi if there's a presence of the shock, electric shock, ganun, and heat, it may detonate. What is detonate? This is another term for explosion, ha? Okay, detonate and explode is just the same term. Okay? Detonation, explosion have the same meaning. Okay? So if there's a shock and there's a heat, then it may detonate. Number 4, even though there's no shock and heat at all, it will really detonate. Okay, meaning it may detonate or explode. No condition. Okay? Muna ang 4. May detonate or explode. Okay? So, 4 na po itong ang hazards classification rating of the Nfpa 704. Now last we have reactivity. We have the specific hazards. The white. Okay. Ang white, guys, this is what we call specific hazard or special hazard. It depends on the meaning of the reference that you are studying or whatever reference materials you are using for this particular topic. So some are really using special hazards and some are also using specific hazards. Okay, meaning once it is special, it's also specific, something like that. Okay, so specific or special hazards. Okay, and then example is so if it's in the drawing, the white color, we can say the OXY actually. So this is oxidation or oxidizers. Okay, meaning like that. So it will undergo a rapid oxidation when it will contact to other chemical substances or they are oxidizers. Okay? That's why OXY. Never mind the Y, huh? Just only like that. The symbol. And then we have also the COR. Okay. COR means corrosive. Okay, corrosive. What is corrosive all about? Corrosive is the ability of the chemical substance to have a visible destruction and alteration of or deformation of your skin surface. It really refers to the skin surfaces, if you talk about corrosive. Okay? Sa skin ra na siya kung dili na ma-inhale if you use the term corrosivity or corrosive. Okay? Muna siya ang core. If it is P only, that is a polymer. Okay? A polymer. Ganon. And if it is really an acid, the whole words will be mentioned. ACID. So acid. Okay? If that is a base, also the whole word will be mentioned. Whole words. BASE for the basic. Okay? Like that. This is very clear, Okay, ganon. And then, okay, for the irritant, irritant also is IR, ganon. Irritant is the ability of the chemical substances, okay, to be absorbed in the skin surface, to the nose, to the throat, to the lung, the irritation. Okay, irritation. That's the normal effect. But starch normally, it can cause chemical burns. But then, later on, there will be an irritation of your skin, could either be in the nose, in the eyes, in the lung, in the throat, and in the respiratory system. So that is really the irritant chemicals. Okay? And we have also isn't here we will be mentioning the radioactive. So radioactive, in the radioactive part, the symbol will be shown, not the words, white in the diamond, like this, like an electric fan. Okay, this is radioactive, like the blade in the electric fan. So radioactive. Okay, radioactive. So what are those radioactive substances? Normally, polonium, selenium, iridium, plutonium, uranium, okay, radium, cesium. Okay, it's in I think in the last row of the periodic table. I think so. And then it's very near with artificially prepared elements. Tupad sila. Muna sila ang mga radioactive materials in the periodic table. Okay? So, muna siya ang mga radioactive. Okay? And it's very, clear. And then we have also the biohazard. Okay? Meaning, for the life of a living organism, it will destroy the living organisms, not limited only to human beings. So that's biohazard. The symbol will be like this. Oh my gosh. Ganon. So, kaayo in fairness. May anak-anak diri, ganon. So, biohazard. Okay? Like that. So biohazards meaning also that if you throw this in the river, in the sea, the fish also will die. Okay, for these types of chemicals that have a symbol like this. Not only to human being, but also to the fish, to the aquatic environment, in the ocean, in the lake, or name it, as long as it is a body surface. All organisms living there, or animals living there, if contact to this kind of chemicals, due to improper waste disposal of these chemicals, then they will die. Okay? Something like that. So, muna siya ang mga specific and special hazards. Okay? So, any questions so far? Human ako. Four hazards. Fire hazards or flammability, reactivity or instability hazards. We have the specific or special hazards. And we have the toxicity hazards. Okay? Like that. Wala na siya upat or taas explanations. Okay? Ganun siya, guys. Any questions so far, you can comment down below in the comment section, and you can subscribe my YouTube channel if you like, and then click the notification bell for some news updates of everything. Eternal Voice. Bye bye, God bless everybody. See you later. Talaga. Oh, di ba?